it's usually, oh, not one more thing. So one of the things I want to teach you again, and I've actually shared this before, is something called whiteboard coaching. Let me give a little bit of the history behind the whiteboard coaching technique. When somebody is writing on a whiteboard or a flip chart and they're drawing a diagram or they're writing down people's responses, what do they typically do? They look at the things that are being written down. They don't look at the person who's asking the questions or the one who's writing things down. Now, why is that important? Well, we talk about coaching to influence. And if you're in front of one of your groups, your distributors or dealers, and you're talking to their group about a particular topic, what do? They tend to just look at you. And we tend to have this discussion. Let's be honest. People by nature don't seek change. They avoid it. They find ways not to do it. So whiteboard coaching, and you can do this on a whiteboard or a flip chart, but there's a real process that you can use to get people to not only embrace change, but to drive their own change. Let me show you. So let's say you're in front of a group and you want to talk about, let's say, objection handling, and there's a competitor objection or a product objection. One of the first things that we can do is ask a group, how would we currently describe our ability to handle those objections? What are some things we do well, and what are some things we don't do as well as we'd like? You write down underneath the word currently the good things and maybe the not so good things. Now, once you write those things down, they're looking at those things on the board. They're not looking at you. You then go to the right side of the board, and then you ask the question, how do we want people to ideally, or how do we want to ideally describe our ability to handle that type of objection? What are you writing down? Only the positive things. Now, here's where the power of visualization comes into play. Once you write those things down, you come back to the left side of the board and you erase everything that was underneath the current. And then you ask the question and write down the answers to what actions do we need to take to make sure the right side of the board becomes our reality. And when they answer these things, guess what they've done? They've started to drive their own change. So if somebody has a dealer with, let's say, a negative attitude, or people are complaining about the down economy, you just insert the topics. How would we currently describe our ability or maybe our mentality at this time? What are some of the good things that we're possessing? What are some of the things that aren't so good? You know, ideally, how do we want to describe our own attitudes or our own energy levels? And then you go back and you erase what you wrote down under the current, almost as if you're visualizing the change. And so what happens is, when people write down the actions, you now have specific items driven by your dealers, by your customers, to coach and influence them. They've actually driven their own change. Now let me do another quick review, because during the course of this interaction, don't forget your questions. So, what would your customers say? Third party, bring in some third party elements. Hypothetically, if I were to tell you, I think we also need to improve our product knowledge, how would you react to that? Hypothetically, lulls them into a false state of honesty. Self-actualize. What do you think we need to do to successfully address some of the things that were written underneath the actions? That's a what question plus a success imperative. And these type of interactions will help you drive, but also get people to visualize and own the change that they really do know is required. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. I hope this is helping.